This is momentous because it marks a strategic shift in how Kenya finances development, moving away from a framework in which infrastructure is primarily financed by debt or taxes, to which infrastructure becomes an inevitable asset capable of attracting both domestic and international long-term capital. Ladies and gentlemen, some have suggested that rather than sell these public assets, we should keep leveraging on the dividends they generate. Others argue that if we must pursue privatization, then the funds raised should be used primarily to reduce public debt. While these views are legitimate, they do not answer, the fundamental question before us. How do we deploy our public assets in a way that delivers the greatest and most enduring value for the people of Kenya, both today and for the generations that will come after us? Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, today's listing is a powerful signal of the growing strength, confidence, and maturity of our economy. It further represents the continuation of the economic reforms we have undertaken to stabilize our economy and restore fiscal discipline. Over the past few years, we have deliberately worked to bring down inflation, stabilize our currency, moderate interest rates, and sustain economic growth. I am particularly encouraged by several milestones achieved through this IPO. This has been Kenya's first fully electronic public offering, with all applications submitted digitally, making it a truly paperless and modern IPO. It attracted more than 70,000 ordinary Kenyan investors, achieving one of its most important objectives: broadening ownership and giving more citizens the opportunity to participate directly in the growth of our national enterprises. Equally significant is the participation of the government of Uganda and the government of Rwanda, and we want to thank them immensely for showing confidence in our country. This now makes Kenya Pipeline a strategic national enterprise and a regional one at that, and reflects the deepening economic integration within the East African community. This transaction was also the first government-led IPO undertaken under the new legal framework established by the Privatization Act, which I signed into law last year. Without the proceeds of privatization, we would be faced with two difficult choices: either to slow down investment in critical infrastructure or to continue financing commercially viable projects through additional government borrowing. Neither option serves our long-term interests, and both are suboptimal and ultimately counterproductive. Let us assume, as I said earlier, that we borrowed an amount equivalent to the proceeds of the IPO at, say, 12.5% interest rate. We would pay an annual interest of 13.5 billion every year, which is nearly 4 times the 3 or 4 billion dividend that the 65% Kenya Pipeline government shareholding would have continued earning the exchequer. In other words, while the annual dividends provide a steady stream of revenue, they are far too modest to finance the transformative projects our country so seriously requires. Additionally, our goal is to leverage every shilling that we put in the National Infrastructure Fund at least between 10 and 12 times. In other words, the 106 billion from the Kenya Pipeline IPO will enable us to finance up to 1.2 trillion infrastructure in one cycle. This, for instance, is the capital we need to do many things in Kenya, as I have said. This 106 billion that we have raised from this IPO actually guarantees us access to 1.2 trillion resources that will help turn around a lot of infrastructure programs that are in our books.